It's $90.
Yeah, buy it. Buy it.
How can we get them to spend even more money?
It's time.
Release the WoW Hydra.
It was just a dream. Thank God.
If your gaming newsfeed is anything like mine, then your eyeballs have been getting blasted with news of WoW's $90 WoW mount, which came out just a couple weeks ago. And it's safe to say this mount is dividing people. Some players love it. Others hate it. Some people are salty, outraged that Blizzard would introduce such expensive vanity cosmetics into the World of Warcraft. So I decided to crack open the history books and look back on all the paid mounts from WoW's history, and to use my few remaining brain cells to try and come up with my personal rendition of what I think their inevitable $1,000 mount will look like. And if you're sitting there going, Clyde, a $1,000 WoW mount? There's no way that'll happen. Friend, respectfully, we live in a universe with $1,000 booster packs for Magic the Gathering. There's people out there paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for ships in Star Citizen that they can't even fly yet. As vanity cosmetics continue to pop up more and more in our favorite games, I think it's time we admit to ourselves the $1,000 mount isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Hey dude, check out my ride, Texas. My name is Clyde, like and subscribe. Oh my gosh, I love y'all. Okay, so before I dive into my findings and the catalog of paid WoW mounts over the years, I want to take a super quick second to set the table for this discussion, so to speak. To whet our appetites on a variety of grilled squid, smoked desert dumplings, and whatever the heck goes into Runtun Tuber's surprise. Our brains need to be well fed, gosh darn it. Anyway, that's my way of saying there's a point that I want to address at the outset of these kinds of conversations, and that's just the fact that mounts as a concept in WoW have changed over the years. Anybody that was there back in 2004 will tell you, getting your mount in the original game was kind of a big deal. A funny quick personal anecdote on this topic. When I started playing WoW in Burning Crusade, one of my best friends, Stu, took me into Alterac Valley, and we're all sitting there waiting for the gate to open, and I distinctly remember me being an undead rogue being on my cruddy Skeletal Warhorse, that at one point I remember seeing a giant black-blue bird raven thing bound across the battlefield in all of its plumage and glory. I distinctly remember turning to my friend Stu and being like, dude, how do I get this cool chicken mount? How do I get that? And Stu, being a good friend, sat me down and said, Clyde, it's a dungeon that requires a druid. It's a very rare drop. You're never gonna get the chicken mount. Just make peace with that now. But did that stop me from looking it up? Absolutely not. It became my white whale of WoW, so to speak. And being honest, that day, when I asked Stu how you get that mount, he had just opened his mouth and said, oh, you just buy it on the Blizzard store. That would have been a very different reaction. It wouldn't have had the air of mystery about it. Anyway, it is objectively true that as the years and the expansions went on for the World of Warcraft, the in-game investment for mounts went down. But despite that, mounts were still by and large seen as a tool that players had to earn in some capacity, even if the barrier of entry was getting smaller. But 6 years later, at the height of WoW's popularity, Blizzard decided to introduce the concept of a paid mount in the form of the Celestial Steed, a mount that for many would become known as the Sparkle Pony.
It's like diamonds.
Your mount. It's beautiful.
Beautiful? This is the mount of a killer, Bella.
How do I get that? But what's important to note here is that for the first time in WoW's history, Blizzard was telling players directly to their faces, hey, you want a tricked out mount? All you gotta do is hand over your credit card. And it sold like hotcakes. Articles and exposés reported that this mount alone made more money than the entire StarCraft II Wings of Liberty expansion, which is insane, and honestly probably says more about the development costs of modern games than anything else. But the point is that Blizzard and the World of Warcraft had entered into a new era. No longer were mounts simply a symbol of hard work or achievement or personal investment in the game, but instead they could be bought for real-world money directly from Blizzard. This mount costs you $25, it doesn't get you the writing skill, and it may glitter like Edward from Twilight.
Shut up and take my money!
I just want to point out that for 6 years, as the World of Warcraft grew and flourished, those 12 million players more or less had one concept of a mount in the game. To varying degrees, sure, and there's no denying the more casual of a player you were, probably the more difficult of an achievement to actually get your mount you saw the experience to be. But at least those schools of thought were in the same ballpark. But in 2010, when Blizzard made the decision to start selling mounts for real-world money, that definition started to change. Anyway, I wanted to just say all this at the outset because whether or not you personally agree with the concept of paid mounts in WoW, it's important for us to acknowledge that for many people, for millions of players, they had one definition in their mind, and they've seen that definition change. It makes sense to me that there's a lot of divided feelings on this topic. To put it in terms that will age date me just a little bit, I have watched my purple skeletal Warhorse going from being a total flex to being the laughingstock of the game.
Futures now, old man.
These concepts might have started changing for fans back in 2010 with the introduction of the Sparkle Pony, but friend, as the numbers will show us, they are far from settled. And what's considered an extreme price tag today may very well be considered mild tomorrow. The ground is shifting beneath our very feet. We hear a rumble in the distance. The microtransactions. They're coming. Oh God, how did we get here? Do. And what happens next? Okay, so now that we've addressed the elephant in the room, let's dig into the stats of all the paid WoW mounts over the years, so that our great-grandparents can look down on us and be proud that we're spending our hard-earned money on whatever the heck that thing is. And for this section, I want to point out two resources that were extremely helpful. The first was WarcraftMounts.com, which actually features a section on just paid mounts for US, EU players. And the second was this comprehensive Wowpedia article. From there, I smacked these two tables together and made a simple spreadsheet containing the names, release dates, and real-world prices for every paid mount that's been sold to US and EU players. Then I ranked them in the all-important metric. How much would I want to ride this animal thing in real life? And spoiler alert, number one was Wondrous Wave Whisker, because how could it not be? This mount has an actual mustache, so consider me sold. I would ride this thing to the grocery store, I would take it to the rent fair, I would even pull up to sushi restaurants in this bad boy. And all the way at the bottom of my list was this FreezyBear, because I don't like being wet and cold. Edward, I don't want to ride the FreezyBear.
Any cold, wet thing, I don't really...
Fine. Ride your stupid mustache fish then.
Anyway, looking at this super simple table and chart that I put together, you might actually be tempted to feel reassured, at least looking at the number of releases and the average price on year. And that's because for more than a decade, the average price for paid mounts every year has more or less stayed around that $25 mark. In fact, as far as I can tell, that $90 Trader's Gilded Brutosaur is the only significant outlier on this front. Yeah, there have been pricey packages and expensive collector's editions over the years, but in terms of individually priced mounts, it's been pretty static at about $25 a mount for many, many years. So I understand people wanting to kick back and go, hey man, this one dinosaur thing, this is just an outlier. This is just a one-off thing. There's no way Blizzard's gonna step up prices for mounts when they've been the same for so long. And while I appreciate that optimism, that calm composure, I think the closer we look at this situation, there may be more reasons than these stats let on for us to feel quietly nervous.
It's just one mount, man. It's fine. You're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay? Now say it! You're gonna...
I don't know, man. I'm seeing all the crystals and the coins and stuff. Are you sure, dude?
Okay!
Just shut up and buy the dinosaur.
From Kodos and Ravens and Hogs and Chimeras, all the way to Panthara and Mana Sabers. WoW has seen more than 30 mounts you can pay for with real-world money over the years. And the recent success of this $90 Brutosaur tells Blizzard exactly two things. One is that dinosaurs are never going out of style. Jurassic Park is a timeless classic. You know it, I know it. That movie scarred me as a kid, and to this day, whenever I hear that raptor cry, I soil my pants. And number two, and even more importantly, people not only love big shiny mounts with functionality, they are willing to pay for big shiny mounts with functionality. The WoW token economy, the system by with which players can exchange in-game gold with real-world currency, was shredded by this $90 Brutosaur. Almost immediately after this mount went on sale, posts started to pop up on Battle.net and sites like MMO Champion saying that not only were WoW tokens skyrocketing in value and price, but many times they were just sold out or unavailable. So whether players were cashing out their in-game gold reserves to purchase this mount, or they were simply handing over their credit card, it was very clear very quickly that Blizzard had a winner on their hands. I guess you could say Blizzard was having an ice day with those sales. Some people might even call this mount a hail in one. You might even say Blizzard's new mount is best in snow. Anyway, it's worth noting here that at least in the US, a lot of us as gamers have been shielded from some of the most shocking prices when it comes to this kind of monetization. If you haven't heard, NetEase, the company that's responsible for WoW in China, they've been selling mounts for many, many years at insane prices. The latest one that's catching headlines is this Spectral Tiger flying mount, which is selling for the equivalent of $265 US. And I promise you, Activision Blizzard's executives are watching, not just with the Brutosaur or the Flying Spectral Tiger, with the broader industry trends. Their bellies are already full, and they are still asking the question, how can we squeeze these players for even more money?
Deal me out this hand, Jason. I'm about to bust. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good lord.
But maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe Blizzard's other titles will give us that much needed reassurance that it's not all just monetization and battle passes. At the heart of it all, it's still gotta be gameplay first, right? Death, taxes, monetization. Isn't that just taxes twice? So let's get one thing straight. The word monetization is very vague and very unhelpful. In fact, I'd argue that it's akin to the word drug in America. Drug can refer to a wide array of medically beneficial things, all the way to things that would screw up your life horrifically just to try even once. But don't take it from me. Take it from the good old-fashioned family values in seventh heaven.
I want to know right now, who brought the paid cosmetics into this house?
It was me, Dad. I bought the Sparkle Pony.
You've gotta be kidding.
Look, Simon.
How could you? Pay to win, douchebag.
But for the purposes of what we're talking about today, I want to define vanity cosmetics as anything that costs real-world money but doesn't add significant content or value to the game experience. A sparkly cloak? Vanity monetization. A ghost tiger that flies across the night sky. Vanity monetization. Dances or skins in Fortnite that allow you to dance suggestively on someone. Neat, but vanity monetization. Paid story content for a live service game? DLC. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it doesn't take a lot of work to create vanity cosmetics. Obviously, there are people behind the scenes working really hard to design it and animate it and package it in such a way that players want it. But I think most of us would agree that this kind of paid content is fundamentally different from something that expands the original gameplay experience or adds a bunch of new content, even though these both fall under the broad category that is monetization. As an example, paying $40 for Elden Ring's DLC gets you access to a whole new world of content to explore. New bosses, new weapons, new spells, a ton of stuff to sink your teeth into. And by comparison, paying $50 so that you can get Overwatch coins to buy Overwatch skins is a very different value proposition. Anyway, I'm not coming down on anybody or their purchasing decisions. I am just pointing out we are talking about two different things. But yeah, since we're on the topic of Overwatch, let's just start there. And that's because back in Overwatch 1, you could acquire almost every single type of cosmetic by simply playing the game. Skins, sprays, emotes, voice lines, you could acquire them all by playing the game and getting loot boxes as a reward for just playing the game. But when Overwatch 2 released last year, it was very clear to players that Blizzard's approach to monetization this time around was different. They have embraced staples of the gacha format in the form of alternate currencies. Stuff like tokens and prisms and coins, stuff that is designed to make it psychologically easier for players to spend real-world money on the game. Spending $50? Not so tempting, but spending 5,000 coins, doesn't sound so bad.
I can explain.
You are making $500,000 and you were only gonna pay me 30?
You're getting 30 grand? I'm getting 1,000.
Wait, you guys are getting real money? I'm only getting Overwatch coins. And look, I'm not going to beat this point into oblivion because I've got an upcoming video specifically on the topic of Blizzard's monetization in their games. So subscribe now if you're interested to see that. But just know that we could look at pretty much any one of Blizzard's franchises and find reasons to fear the hand reaching for our wallets. Take Diablo 3. Cosmetics and pets and wings were rewards for completing in-game challenges. And in Diablo 4, what color would you like your undead horsey? That'll be $25. Battle passes are everywhere in Blizzard's ecosystem now. Buying Getting random card packs is not enough. You've also got to be willing to fork over money for hero portraits, and the backs of your cards, and everything else they can nickel and dime you on. Monthly subscriptions aren't even enough, and that's with us paying money for expansions. They also need to dangle these kinds of time-limited release mounts to try and pressure us to spend money as quickly as possible. In fact, I've talked about this exact tactic before from another company in our Nintendo series, where they apply these kinds of false pressures to get people to make impulse purchases as quickly as possible. It is just as gross here as it was there, so if you want to see how Nintendo plays by these rules, here's a link to that video. But the point is that even at a very high level surface analysis, Blizzard games are not trending towards monetization, they are embracing monetization. We can lie to ourselves and say it's not happening, we can say it's not a big deal, we can even say, hey, it's not my game, so I don't really care. But that doesn't change the fact of the matter that right now, somewhere in California, there are Activision Blizzard executives gathered around a table, whisking their mustaches thinking, how can we squeeze these players for absolutely every single penny that they're worth? And that brings us to the penultimate question before we unveil our $1,000 monstrosity. And that's a question we all get to ask ourselves. How much is too much? Let me just make my perspective on this very clear, very quick. Everyone, every gamer is entitled to spend their money however they like. Period, full stop. Me personally, I like to spend my money on subscription services so I can binge watch shows like Too Hot to Handle and Love is Blind and Garrett, if you break Taylor's heart, I swear to God. If you're a WoW or Overwatch player or you're into one of these other kinds of games with vanity cosmetics, and there's a purchase that'll make you super happy and it's within your means, then go for it, knock yourself out. I give you my personal thumbs up to make those kinds of purchasing decisions. Not that anyone asked for or even needs my approval. But, and hear me out here, I think that when we as consumers start to see dramatic shifts in our favorite games, it's at least worth asking ourselves the question, are we okay with these prices? Are we okay with these changes? Just because there's 0.05% of players out there that are willing to hand over $90 for the Brutosaur mount, that doesn't mean the other 99.95% of players aren't allowed to open their mouths and say, hey, that's too much. We are not required to plug our ears and pretend we're not listening.
There's a question that's crossed out.
Well, due to a recent presidential order, we're not allowed to ask that particular question.
It asks here if I've ever purchased skins in a video
For
game.
God's sake, don't answer that. I could go to jail.
But I'm not a
La 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 la. I am not listening. La 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 la.
Nice fella. I wonder if he plays Overwatch. Because I'm confident that I will get comments asking what my personal perspective is on this matter, I will go ahead and just volunteer it here. And my perspective is, I don't really like the presence of vanity cosmetics in the games that I'm playing. That doesn't stop me from playing games that have them, I just find them kind of yucky. For example, I love Path of Exile. I think it is an awesome game. But I'm not gonna lie, it does bug me a little bit that the way they've chosen to release some of their coolest animations, coolest armor sets and cosmetics is gatekept behind supporter packs that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Please don't misunderstand me. I am super happy to support studios like Grinding Gear Games and games like Path of Exile, especially because it is a free-to-play game. But for me personally, when I'm looking at gifts to get my friends and I buy them a copy of Baldur's Gate 3 or Cyberpunk or the many, many copies of Inscription that I've gifted out, those just feel like better value propositions to me. I don't know, man, something about handing over my money to look cool in a game just rubs me the wrong way. And taking that a step further, I don't really like playing games where the vast majority of people that look cool simply do so because they bought it. Again, I am not trying to yuck anybody's yum. I'm just saying, I play video games to escape the constant reminders from the real world that I don't nor ever will make six figures in my life. And the more and more I play online games, I'm finding those reminders there just in a different form. And the sad reality is for a lot of these online games, no amount of paying for the game is ever enough for these companies. No amount of monthly subscription dues or regular expansions or cosmetic packs is ever enough for them. They always want more, gosh darn it. Again, this is a decision we all get to make for ourselves, and no shade whatsoever if you're one of the people out there that bought this WoW mount with $90 cash. I just think that, or I should say that I know that, someday you will be on my side of the line. There will come a day, even for your budget, whoever you are on the other side of the screen, whether you're a coder making $250,000 a year or you're a DoorDash driver, you will eventually be on this side of the line. You will eventually say, this is too much for me, I'm not buying this. Maybe it already happened. Maybe it was back when mounts cost $25, or today when they cost $90, or maybe it'll be when the $1,000 WoW mount is coming. Alright, so this journey we've been on together, talking about Blizzard's paid mounts, the monetization in their games, the different perspectives, my obsession with mustaches, it has led us to this moment. Every bit of research, every ounce of my MS Paint skills, to show you the most scientifically accurate representation of what I think their $1,000 mount will look like. Buckle up, friends, because you stand in the presence of the High Roller of Azeroth, the first of the banking empire, the Sultan of Venmo swipes, the premier pay-to-win Pegasus, protector of the high credit limit, the splurger of riches, the Visa vindicator, rider of the luxury llama, debt-winged and debt-bound, the breaker of budgets. I give you in all her glory, Linda, the greed grub.
This is Jon Snow.
Anyway, I have put just so many references into this monstrosity. I've got Night Elf legs in there, and some Pokemon parts in there, and just like so many random pieces of WoW mounts from over the years. Bonus points for anyone who spotted Raz's head from Psychonauts, because it's one of my favorite games, so how could I not include it? And yes, I also included the hull of a Star Citizen ship in there, because why not? And not to toot my own horn or anything, but I would say I accomplished this monstrosity in sub 30 minutes, which is pretty good. That is a PB for me on designing a Cronenberg monster, and I am proud. You can either have art or speed, friends, so I had to make a decision, and all I can say is that Love is Blind Reunion is not gonna watch itself. But yeah, mark my words, I think within 5 years, we see a $1,000 WoW mount. I bet it's shiny, I bet it's covered in FOMO, and I bet the internet loses their minds about it, at least for a week. But I bet you it sells. And even though it won't look like this, when it does eventually come out and it does inevitably sell, it'll only lead to the $5,000 WoW mount and the $10,000 WoW mount with boosters and hyperdrives and all that jazz. And many of us will groan, we will roll our eyes, and it'll serve as one more reminder as to why Blizzard is not your friend. Alright, so as my way of saying thank you for sticking around through my very neurotic, very weird episode, I want to tell you about a giveaway we're doing right here, right now in today's video. I mentioned this in the series intro, but my partner and I, we just got back from a trip to Japan, and I stuffed my suitcase full of gaming memorabilia and trinkets and gachapon stuff, and I would love to give it away to y'all. There's plushies and gachapon stuff, and retro video games, and card packs, and decks of cards, and just so much cool memorabilia. And if you want a chance to win some of it, all you have to do is leave a comment on this video telling us about a favorite gaming memory of yours. It doesn't have to be anything special. It doesn't have to be an essay or anything like that. It can be something as simple and as stupid as, I was playing BioShock and my dog farted on me, or something. I don't know. I don't judge here. That counts. That is totally fine. So to enter, all you got to do is be 18 years of age or older, live in one of the participating countries, and leave a comment sharing a favorite gaming memory of yours. And you will have done all you need to do to enter the giveaway. And just to put it out there, no purchase is necessary, and the full list of contest rules are going to be in the pinned comment as well as the description below. 2 weeks from today on 11/24, I will use the Pick a Winner tool on a live stream, and I will tag all the winners in a community tab post. I'll ask for your Discord information so you can send me your shipping deeds. And yeah, these presents are just my way of saying thank you. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being a part of my life, for the kind comments and the critical comments and the feedback and the challenging comments. I do a lot of these skits and these dorky memes, and I often wonder if I'm just making myself laugh. And to get such positive, warm feedback, it means a lot to me, and I want to pay it forward, and I just want to say thank you. And on that note, I want to say thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Y'all are the ones making this freaking stuff possible. And yeah, if you're out there and you're wanting to support the channel as well, I will leave a link in the description to our Patreon page where you can get your name in the credits, as well as behind-the-scenes extras. It would mean a lot to me. I really, really appreciate y'all. Thanks for being friends. And freaking last, I want to give a special thank you to both BrockoleeBear and Sklap for voicing memes from today's episode. It is always fun getting to work with friends and getting to have them voice stuff in the channel. So I will link their channels in the description below. So please go show them some love. Go say hello in one of their videos. It would make their day. They've made my day just by being here, so please definitely go show them some love. Thank you for checking out the video. Don't forget to leave a comment of a favorite gaming memory for the giveaway, and I'll see y'all soon. Mustache Man out of here.